Hey everyone, Bob Kendall here. Just want to introduce you to our entire suite of products. We're giving a 33% discount. Basically it was $297 for the entire suite. Now it's $197 per month and you pay by a quarterly basis. And this is access to everything we do. Our professional software, which gives you the ability to do multivariate trading, will also give you the WaveTech platform, market grid numbers every day, as well as our stock screens that were developed by our institutional certified financial analysts. Everything we do is included in this package. So sign up by the end of the month and get this special of 33% off. Welcome to the Kendall Report, where I share my 41 years of experience to help you manage your portfolios and protect your wealth. Remember to subscribe, like, and share these videos. In yesterday's action, we saw a mixed bag all day as the markets just continued to grind slightly higher. We did see some negative numbers both on the S&P and the NASDAQ, but nothing material, and the markets came back to close just slightly higher on the day. One laggard was the Russell, as yesterday the S&P was up 0.03, NASDAQ up 0.2, and the Russell up 0.6. As we look at the year-to-date returns right now, they've almost normalized across the board. The S&P up 14.3, NASDAQ up 12.7, and the Russell up 16.9. So today is officially the final day of the second quarter. We're about to come into the third quarter, and I don't expect to see the employment numbers lag until we get the results for June. I think they're going to continue to soften. I'll talk more about that in the live stream tomorrow. As always, on Wednesday, we'll have a live stream from 1:30 New York time right into the close. So make sure, if you can, to join that or to watch the replay. But as we look back on yesterday, we did see the financials down 0.5, energy down 0.5. In fact, 8 of the 11 sectors were negative on the session. And there was really no feature of any sort yesterday. We're just continuing to see this new high ground with very low volatility, and also the breadth of the market continues to be very narrow. Stocks like Apple and Microsoft and the big boys continue to play big. There's no broad market advance, but in the NASDAQ, it's doing a little bit better than the other indices as far as the constituency. It's not that exciting to look at. Yesterday, the Dow was able to print back over the 92 handle. Gold absolutely hated it. We saw gold drop all the way down to 1750, bounce back to close above that 61 number. I'll go through that in the details here in a few minutes in the technical section. But tonight's video will be typical ahead of the live stream. I'll just get you set up for the open, some of the other elements that will be coming out, just so you have some perspective coming into the open. Then I'll see you at 1:30. Today we also have pending home sales. I expect these numbers to continue to miss. I've talked a lot about the home sales just continue to be down. I've got an estimate of a -3% on the home sales. We'll see how that one comes out tomorrow as we go through the session. Yesterday, Case-Shiller came out. The estimates were for 15% gain. It was 14.9. Pretty accurate guess on that one. As I've been discussing over the past several weeks, I think this is going to be one of the elements that is not going to be transitory. I know a lot of folks are predicting a housing bust and those type of things. I don't see that in the cards at the moment. There's a lot to go forward on these markets, especially with the commodity softening up. Lumber dropping about 50+% off of its highs made some things a little more affordable. So I expect to see there be a push back into housing just because some of the prices that have softened a bit. The final thing just to mention, and I'll go through all the details in a minute, we are seeing a continuing rotation in our database. No traction here at these levels. As we come into today, I don't see a lot happening overnight. We're just going to continue to grind into the ADP numbers that will come out in the morning, expected to show 570,000 new jobs. It's a moderately important number, not super important. It really doesn't have a lot of correlation with the employment numbers coming out on Friday, which is what everybody's waiting for. So let's go ahead and take a look at the charts, see how they're set up for Wednesday's opening. As I begin with the WaveTech database, as I mentioned in the opening comments, there was not a lot going on. There were 378 buy signals, 487 sell signals, so a slight negative rotation. We're at 35.33% bullish. There's really nothing going on, and this continues to concern me as we're trading at all-time new highs and we're not able to get any type of rotation or short-term traction in the database. A little bit eerie from my viewpoint. We'll have to look at, I'll be referencing in a minute the market grid because I think it's also throwing some cautionary viewpoint out into the marketplace. As I begin with the S&P futures, continue to have this narrow market grid as we're contracting here on the daily ranges. If we look at the grid for today, so far overnight we've had a 42.90, 42.83 high low, so we've traded just about to an R2, S1, 42.77. So my expectations for today is we're likely to see an R2, S2. These ranges are so narrow that we're likely to expand out to the R2, possibly even getting to R3, S2. I don't think we'll get below the 71 level at any point in the markets. In fact, I think S1 will be very solid in this market. As I review the SPX, another interesting event here, we're getting another cycle, and this is potentially a cycle high here. Today will be the end of the quarter, which would be interesting if we get a minor high at these levels. Just after trading the 4,300 level, the typical pattern that unfolds around the even numbers is we'll trade just above it and we get about a 40 handle range. That would represent 42.20 to 42.80 range, something like that, maybe even trade back to around 42.40 before moving up. The cycle that's coming in today will be interesting to watch. We're not really getting any major acceleration. The PPMs remain flat. The market grid remains very narrow, which typically suggests that there's some movement backwards. My mention of the 42.40 level would be where we would go, which would be the most likely place to go. 42.45 is the 10-day moving average. 42.35 is the 21. So could trade back into these moving averages. I've been talking about this occurrence for the last several days. See if that can come into play as we come into the end of the week, which is also a long weekend, so there might be some squaring up of trades ahead of that event. Next market I'll cover is NASDAQ. NASDAQ continued to move up in the range. Yesterday we saw it print into the R2 level, 14,582. The high was 14,584, and we closed at 14,563. So it was a nice positive close, but we continued to inch up. We did get that RTX sell signal. Really, that suggests we're going to stay in the grid, move in a sideways range. For today, my expectations would be for R2, S2 level, which would be 14,627 to 14,499. We are seeing some decent numbers on the PPM, so the underlying trend is much stronger, as I've been discussing. I'll go into full details tomorrow in the live stream. The final market I cover is gold. Gold came under some extreme pressure, traded through the STX number, and just closed right at it yesterday. As we look at the market grid for yesterday, STX was 1764.30. We closed just below it at 1763.60. So typically we'll get that. That is an STX buy signal. Typically will come into this sideways range. One of the big issues here on this chart is that the PPM, that PPM1 is now at a minus 0.58, PPM2 minus 0.38. We're in major downtrend here. There's also a cycle coming in today. And If we were to close higher, that would suggest we might have a minor low here, but I don't see this being the case. In fact, it may be a continuation cycle suggesting to be lower prices, and I will go through this in full detail in the live stream tomorrow. Thanks for watching tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow at the live stream at 1:30 Eastern Time. Hey folks, if you enjoyed this content, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button and the notification bell so you'll know when I do these videos.